Welcome, listeners, to the very first PodCATS, Ep01. With me, my name is C.A.T. With me is Fabian Wood.
Good day to you all.
We are going to do a review of Man of Steel. Man of Steel is set on Krypton, a dying planet. The head scientist wants to save the planet and sends his son, or the first natural birth on Krypton, to Earth. Now, there's a lot of background story in terms of the military, General Zod, the Council, and a lot of internal conflict that caused not only the destruction, the eradication of a race, but the reason why C.A.T was sent to Earth.
Well, I don't think Superman really needs an introduction. I mean, everybody knows the story of Superman, and I think in Grant Morris's All-Star Superman that came out in 2006, Lex Luthor quoted it very succinctly. As long as you have doomed planet, desperate scientists, last hope, kindly couple, you have Superman, quintessentially. And I think that's where the movie delivers. It goes step by step in those areas. We're introduced to Krypton, and it is a very well fleshed out planet. Similar to what Thor had, but without the narrated exposition beforehand. There's a very verbose aesthetic and there's authenticity built into every scene.
What I liked about it was that, as you said with Thor, it was similarly done with the mesh of technology with that sort of mystical creatures, and it was well done on that aspect. We saw Krypton, we saw the creatures of Krypton, we saw the technology of Krypton, we saw the Kryptonians in their natural habitat, we saw the glyphs, we saw a perspective of Superman that we haven't seen. Maybe not even, they didn't go even that detailed in the comics itself.
Yeah, because I think Krypton is very quickly glossed over. I mean, even in the very first issue of Superman where they introduced the origin, it's like Doom Planet, send off the child, and that's like in one page. But here they really took their time, because I think one of the unbelievable aspects of Superman is that, you know, Krypton is so advanced, has all this technology, but they don't leave their planet. And I think they do in explaining why this civilization is so blatantly ignorant in the face of their own annihilation, because they've become so advanced that they've allowed themselves to master eugenics basically on a genetic level, creating a very sterile, regimented population density. So this kind of instilled a very stagnant, xenophobic civilization, one that mirrors the kind of Krypton post-crisis that John Burns did in Man of Steel reboot in the comics, where they were afraid to leave their planet, so that's why they didn't leave. And that's why they died when the planet exploded.
I found that part, I mean, if your head scientist told you that your planet is doomed to destruction, I mean, why stay there and knowing that you're feeling the tremors, there's actual tangible proof, readings, whatever, that your planet is doomed. You have altered the construction of the planet by tapping into the core, and you have to know there have to be some sort of repercussions from a move like this. So for me, one part, as you said, the ignorance of the Kryptonians, or the arrogance of them, thinking that they could solve their problems on doors, it has escalated to a point past any feasible solution. That was baffling to me.
Well, yeah, but you got to understand from their perspective, it is a combination of hubris in that Krypton will last for all eternity, and again the whole fear of exploration and the unknown, having things stagnant. And I think that what's the driving force behind Zod's coup is that he agrees with Jor-El, but Jor-El isn't willing to do what needs to be done to get these people to safety to save Krypton.
It seems that Zod, each person had the council Zod, and Jor-El had their own way of dealing with the matter. You think you believe that General Zod, I mean, he saw what was going on, but he couldn't wait. He couldn't wait for the council's decision, whatever that will come. He wanted it to be known, and he wanted to do what's right for the planet. After we get in the story, I don't want to go too far in, but after you find out that each Kryptonian is bred for a role before they're even born, you think that they should have questioned not only Jor-El's idea, but also Zod's. And that's when I'm talking about.
Well, in terms of the council and Zod, I don't think he acted prematurely. I mean, the planet was destroyed in the next couple of hours, so I don't think he was rushing anything. I think he probably procrastinated too much, and that's why it came to that point. And again, even though you are genetically programmed for a particular role, you still have free will in that Kryptonians aren't robots, so they have free ideas and they're able to, have their own thoughts and feelings about certain aspects, but still function in a particular role. So, in terms of the council rejecting Jor-El, his thinking was more forward. His thinking was radical, and that didn't equate to what the council was. The council, again, I think is a representative of most governments that are very stagnant and unwilling to change in the face of adversity and just want to keep the status quo to its own detriment and to its own destruction.
And that destruction came swiftly. Let's talk a little bit about
Jor-El was played by Russell Crowe. Yeah, just to let everyone know.
This movie had a lot of good actors, and to me, I believe some points of time, I don't know if I could say it, but they overacted. I mean, it was like they're doing a drama, and that's what we're living more and more in the comic book adaptations. The acting is improving, the acting is getting better. They're not even just looking for persons that just have the look. You have to have the look and the acting skills. And Russell Crowe, he did an excellent job.
Yeah, so it goes without saying that Russell Crowe does a better Jor-El than Marlon Brando. He's definitely more physical in this movie.
Far more.
Yes. Zod, who is played by Michael Shannon.
He also did an excellent job on the whole Zod tape.
So you're saying he's better than Stamp? Terrence Stamp? The actor from the Chris Reeves movies.
Yes, in my opinion, he was a lot better. He had a more presence on screen. When he said those iconic quotes, it was like, I believe this guy is it. He is what he portrays to be. I didn't get that much with Shannon. He was present.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't give me the punch lines I was looking for. He didn't really hit home with them.
Yeah.
He was more of he was a general. People follow him, but to me he didn't really get my attention.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do miss the whole kneel before Zod, and his substitute, I Will Find Him, is severely lacking.
The I Will Find Him was... I got it. I got what he was getting at. I got what the feeling he was trying to get from that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, no matter where you go, although I'm going to be exiled to the Phantom Zone, I will still find your son. I will get what I need to do done, and there's nothing could stop me. Nothing could do to stop me from achieving my goal. It was not as iconic as Me Before Zod, and I know Me Before Zod will go down in history as one of the best lines in any Superman movie.
Yeah.
But Shannon, he did his part, but it was, to me, he was not. If these little things that to me that would make him his role more epic. If he had a better fighting scenes.
Well, I would say that Shannon isn't like the epitome of who the Zod character was. If I compare him to Stamp's acting, I would say that Stamp had a more tempered, soft-toned rage, while Shannon tended to like shout a lot. He does a lot of shouting in this movie.
I think we saw Zod appear on the screen back in the 1980s. He was like, as you said, that quiet rage. He would look at you like you as you are nothing, and if you continue to agitate him, you will see that maniac, that creature, that beast come out. It was like this quiet rage, like you are nothing to me. I don't even know why you are in the same room as me. But if you get me to a point, I will destroy you. That's just it. But to me, Shadow was like a child that wanted something, and it was restricted from him. He did a lot of shouting. He did a lot of too much talking. But that's my opinion. Too much talking. And the general was that kind of fighting force. Well, he didn't really have a fighting force with him. Just a handful of tournaments and a couple equipment and machinery and weapons he picked up along the way on his trip to Earth. But
we'll get that a little bit later.
Yeah, not skipping force, but he, to me, didn't fully grasp the role as Zod.
Well, after the destruction of Krypton and the banishment of Zod and his minions to the Phantom Zone, which isn't a spoiler to anybody, again, if you watch the original film, read any comic books, but after the events of Krypton, we then move to Earth, and it's a very, very quick scene. We don't get Clark growing up in Smallville with his folks. We more get him as an adult. He's 33 years old. He's a nomad, finding menial jobs where and whenever he can. He's like a pariah, basically. Probably see him on World's Deadliest Catch or Axemen. Yeah, but what do you think about how they treated this Clark, who was basically, he didn't know what to do with himself for a good 33 years of his life, and he just like wandering around, not doing anything. Well, he's doing stuff, but he hasn't found himself, his place in the world as yet, his calling. So he's just drifting from place to place. What do you think of that interpretation of Clark?
It was so similar to, I wouldn't say anything, Batman. Mm-hmm. The Batman, that was the first one.
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins, he was, and you see, Superman, well, later on we'll figure out why he was roaming and he was wandering the Earth.
Sure.
But that part reminded me of the same thing that happened in Batman Begins. That same when Bruce was wandering, trying to find himself, but later on in the picture we realized why he was wandering, why Clark was wandering.
Yeah, and I think his wandering is explained too. It reflects a lot of what's going on, what went on actually in, I believe it was Mark Waid's Superman Birthright, as well as in the recent Superman Earth 1, where we find a Clark who is roaming the world. He hasn't become a journalist, or he hasn't really settled down in a particular career. He's just like trying to find who he is, experimenting all the time, different jobs, different professions. So it's not anything strange. I think it's more realistic in that you have all of these powers, and the first job you think of doing is, being a journalist at a newspaper company.
but we don't jump forward. But we will get to
Yeah,
that
we will
point
get to
when
that.
he did that.
But I'm just saying that it doesn't just skip straight to him going to the Daily Planet. He goes around in circles basically before we get to that point.
Yes, it seems that the jobs he took on was more physical jobs.
Obviously.
What I found surprising is that there was a cut scene when he was in his class.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, that wouldn't be the first time? Would that be the first time his powers manifested in that way?
Probably yes. I guess his powers would have manifested the same way puberty would manifest in, I guess, a human being, in that certain things wouldn't happen until you've reached a certain age. So I guess that was it for him. Again, we do not know Kryptonian physiology or biology, so we're just making guesstimates here. But he wouldn't have been accustomed. I think it's also reference to that Superman wasn't innately super strong or super powerful when he came to Earth. He was actually very, very weak and asthmatic and had a difficulty living under Earth's atmosphere and ecosystem, and he had to develop an immunity, a resistance, a tolerance basically to living on Earth.
In the Christopher Reeve Superman,
yeah,
when he was still taller, he was able to lift up the truck.
Yeah, instantaneously. I think it's more realistic for him to acclimate to a foreign environment rather than him automatically being super powerful. And I think that's what's been done in a lot of comic books, in Smallville and so forth, where he's not super strong out of the crib. He gradually develops these powers as his body absorbs more and more sunlight. Don't forget, it's also filtered through Earth's atmosphere, so he's not getting a full blast of solar radiation. It's gradual.
What I found scary, and I'm glad they did it that way, because if he was a child, a baby, a toddler, babies have this, they sometimes hit things.
Yeah.
They will slap the table, floor, even hit someone or bite them. You can imagine if he had that power, not knowing how to control it, he attacked his parents.
I'm just thankful that Clark was a very obedient and well-mannered child, because I have no idea how Jonathan and Martha would discipline that child. Paul would be like, "Ma, hand me my kryptonite belt." Yeah. Seriously, how do you discipline a child with those kind of powers? So I'm very thankful for that. But I think, too, is that we see a Clark who was bullied, he was teased growing up. So he wasn't the popular kid, he wasn't the athlete, he wasn't the smart, brainiac genius, he wasn't, a standout positive guy in the social strata. And I think that really humanizes him. And
Kevin Costner and Dana Lane, they were Jonathan and Martha Kent, respectively. What do you think of the role, or how do you think Dana Lane played Martha Kent and Kevin Costner played Jonathan Kent? You think they were convincing in terms of being that? I know for sure Costner, he blew it out of the water, especially that scene when he was playing his son after he rescued the people from the kids, the students
on the bus,
on the bus, and it showed a lot of the humility of Superman, Clark at that point in time, going back to the bully that was dramatically or thrown out of the bus, and that little pep talk he gave Clark, that was one of the better scenes of the movie.
Yeah, most definitely.
Mean, you saw Costner as not as he didn't portray himself as a competent and pompous person. He seemed very humble. He seemed that he wanted the best for Clark.
Yeah.
It seemed that he wanted him to be the best he can be. I know he didn't have any dialogue between him and Jor-El, but it seems like both of them had the same idea.
Yeah, well, basically, how I see it, that Clark is clearly influenced by the father figures in his life, both his biological father and his adopted father. In terms of Kevin Costner's portrayal of John Kent, I think he did a step above what John Scheissner did in Smallville, in that this is a Pa Kent, who comes off confident, knowing that his son can do these great things and he's going to use these powers for the betterment of mankind. But at the same time, he's apprehensive. He has a practical view of humanity in that he knows how they would perceive him negatively despite his best intentions, for the simple fact of who and what he is, an alien from outer space. And people as a whole are not readily accepting of good intentions or people doing the right thing for the right reasons, and dare I say it, not comfortable with it. And that you can see that burden that Costner places on Clark when he dies, because Costner dies in this film. He dies telling in a storm, a tornado. He tells his son not to save him because the world isn't ready, and this mantra of "not yet, you're not ready" haunts Clark all the way through the movie. Through this 33 years of living on Earth, that the world isn't ready, it's not ready yet, and that's why that's his mental block. I see what that Clark's going through after his death, and he doesn't know what to do with his life. So I don't know if that was a good thing, but I do understand where Jonathan was coming from. All the scenes were very, very heartfelt, very tear-jerking, especially when he reveals to his son, well, you are adopted, but you're more than just adopted. You are an alien from outer space, and we raised you as your own. And Clark is like, can I keep pretending to be your son? And Costner replies, you are my son. There is no way that if you have a still beating heart that you can't cry to that. And that's very traumatic. In the original film, which I think was equally as powerful but done in a different way, Pa Kent dies of a heart attack. And I think that was very, to say that despite all of his great powers, all the things he could do, he can't save everybody. I mean, even his father was taken up by a heart attack. And I think that's a dividing point. If you watch the original film of how John Kent died, in the original film of how John Kent died in Man of Steel, there are two different perspectives on that scene.
I the heart attack death better than the Twister, because
I would agree.
The Twister is something that could have been, he could have easily ran, grabbed him, pulled him back to safety. The heart attack is out of his reach. All that physical power is he could stop some cardiac arrest, because he could stop that from happening, and it would be more dramatic. But we have, I guess the point is still then. I think it was better done that way for this Superman, because although we still want that feeling, the feeling we got from him knowing he's a physical Superman, pure physical being, that he couldn't stop that natural disaster from happening and saving his father, just pulling him out of the way. That impacted him more than a heart attack was in this reboot.
What they do, it works for this movie.
Yes.
But comparatively, I would prefer the heart attack death. Sorry, John, I don't want you around. You have to die.
Yeah. Well, to me, death of main characters, they should always serve a greater purpose, and we saw the greater purpose of it, and it caused him to be the person he is, and it also caused him to save numerous lives as a result. His traveling, his wandering, put him in places that, like, on a rig for one. That disaster, all those things are probably have died. And there's one thing that caught my eye and my attention when I saw that. Do you believe, I know this is going off topic a little bit, but do you believe that Superman saving those lives is really beneficial for the population? I mean, if you believe there's divine being or something, that Superman saving all these people that maybe in the greatest scheme of things were supposed to die. for whatever
Well,
reason. Do you think that him saving those
you mean to
three,
kind of like create Final Destination kind of a
yeah,
thing?
it's the same definition kind of thing, but not the.
Well, yeah, I was just being a little facetious there, but I get what you're saying. It's kind of like what Lettler kind of like propagates to the public in his view of Superman. And I think what separates Superman from other superheroes is that tragedy does not define him. Tragedy does happen. I mean, his entire world, his entire civilization is destroyed. His father dies and so forth. But that is not the driving force as to why he does the right thing. He does the right thing because it's the right thing. And that's what's great about Superman. He doesn't need a motivation to save people. And I think that is what he's trying to tell us, is that if you have the power to save people, then save people. And the fact that I can do things that no one else can do puts me in a position to save those same people. Because in the same rig scene, the equipment, the helicopters, the boats, they were incapable of saving the people in the time that they had, and only Superman could have saved them had he contributed. In terms of if he's somehow ruining a greater plan, I think that is something of debate. I mean, if you have Superman saving you from Brainiac and all these alien invaders and so forth, how can Earth survive if you were to, say, go on hiatus or like leave the planet for some vacation, whatever? How are we supposed to save ourselves? And if we become too reliant on Superman saving us, then we become lackadaisical. If Superman's saving everybody from burning buildings and stopping crime, then there is no incentive for like firemen or policemen to really do their job. They just like sit around and wait for Superman to do his thing and go home. So I think in that light, Superman can be a detriment to humanity, but I don't think he is. He's just like showing us that we can do it. Succinctly, it is with great power comes with great responsibility. Sorry to quote Spider-Man, but that's what it is. Spider-Man doing the same thing. It's just that Superman has greater power.
Greater power. Well, from that point of view, yeah, but
before we continue, since we're still talking on Henry Cavill, I must say that this man is totally ripped. He is topless for an uncomfortable long time in this film. So ladies will love it. He's well sculpted about being like overly muscular. So it's all genuine, folks. Yeah. It's not 300 spray on abs.
I thought that he was. It's either that the makeup artist, the wardrobe people, they did an excellent job in fitting him in the correct clothes. Because at points in time he didn't look hulking.
Yeah.
You know, cause he's a big guy. But
yeah, he didn't look like Brock Lesnar.
No, but he's a big dude.
Yeah, and it's genuine. He worked that out. It's not like CG. That's like totally him.
No, that we mentioned him, Henry. What you? This is true. I like him better when he was post Superman.
Yeah, it's funny how he's much more confident wearing his Kryptonian underoos, and when he's not Superman, he's afraid to be Superman.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. His before he donned the suit, and we'll talk more about that suit.
Yeah.
Later on. I like that look for. I like that look for Superman. Like the on cat rough look. When he became Superman, that guy he looked like a model. Like
yeah.
I mean, his face was pale. I mean,
they do not explain it at all in the movie.
Why was he so pale and he's so clean cut? And
they never explain how the man shaves. They gloss that over. He's have a full beard one scene. He has a 5 o'clock shadow the next, and then he's completely shaven in other scenes as Superman.
And he has excellently. Like, he went to a stylist and they did stuff in his hair.
You don't know what they had in the Fortress of Solitude. They probably had, like, a stylist machine, like on Jetsons. You just put on a dome and it, like, cleans you up.
I don't know, but that was a little plot hole that was
Well,
missing. That
yeah,
was
in
really.
the original film, that's one of my major gripes about the original film. I mean, when Clark in the original film again creates the Fortress of Solitude with the little crystal, and he's being mentored by Marlon Brando, the disembodied head of his father, we cut straight to him in a suit, and I'm like, okay, so where did that come from?
What else we could say about Clark?
Well, I think we could say that Clark and Superman are one and the same. It's not like it's identity, because Clark is always Clark, and even when he puts on the suit, he's still the same person. He's not putting on a disguise in and out of the suit. It's still the same person because he's never had a reason to mask who he is. He's always very genuine in and outside of the suit. And I think that's what's great about Henry Cavill's performance, in that he's the same person inside and outside of the suit. And then there's a scene later on, you've seen in the trailers, where he's being interrogated by Lois Lane, and that's just like priceless. But what do you think about if you compare Henry Cavill's performance and Christopher Reeves?
Christopher Reeve, you see, Christopher Reeve set the benchmark for Superman. He set the standard you're supposed to reach, try to become. If you play that such an iconic role, he had his moments, but I believe now, presently with this Superman reboot, they did a lot more to make him more relatable to the fans and the comic. I just believe that Christopher Reeve was a more standalone, more of a just a movie, a film about Superman. It wasn't really taking anything from the comics. It wasn't really giving us that much more that we wanted. This Superman was the full thing. He gave us the story, gave us the action scenes that you expect to see. In the Christopher Reeve, we had some action scenes, but was mostly taken from want to toss them away. It had the part of the train when he laid across the tracks. But in terms of acting, I believe that Henry didn't do that much acting, but I believe Henry did he just went a little over Christopher Reeve's head in terms of his portrayal of Superman. What do you think?
I think that, again, Henry Cavill for this movie, and I think for this generation, definitely embodies who Superman is and should be, because he's definitely better than Brandon Routh, sorry to say, in the Returns movie.
You said the name just now that didn't compute. I didn't understand that name.
Brandon Routh in Returns.
Don't talk about Returns.
Okay.
Let's just deal with Christopher Reeve
and Henry Cavill. Yes, okay. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that this Superman is earnest. He's modest, humble, compassionate, very down to earth and relatable. And the great thing about it is that Henry's performance, he doesn't devolve into the idealistic caricature we have in our mind's eye of what Superman is. And Christopher Reeve's performance, I think he does a superb role in portraying the dual identities of the bumbling Clark and the Superman, which more embodies that campy, all-around good guy caricature that I mentioned before. So he does a great performance as that caricature, but as Superman, I think Cavill definitely does the better job in this movie.
We didn't get a lot of the acting per se from Henry.
No, because I think the reason why is that he's so alone and lonely in this movie that he doesn't have time to really interact with anyone, and he doesn't really interact with that many people, so that's probably why you don't get that.
No, you say interact. Let us deal with this anomaly here.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Adams,
Lois Lane. Yes, through serendipity. We should introduce that through serendipity. Lois Lane and Clark Kent get together in a movie to find something in the Arctic, and that something, for lack of a better word, is the Fortress of Solitude, more or less. But back to Amy Adams as Lois Lane.
I have a problem with this. Basically, I have a problem with with Lois Lane altogether.
Okay.
And I don't want to seem biased.
Get your pitchforks, folks.
To me, Lois Lane, she could have played a more, less of a role in this movie. I believe that this movie has brought to my attention that Lois Lane is not who she seems to be.
Okay.
There's something more to Lois Lane. She has to have some kind of secret identity, secret power. Because Lois Lane, it was in minutes, and this is movie minutes, got to from that location where we were to that other location where she saw Clark. And to me, at first when the camera panned that area, it was like, oh, she just walked on the ledge. But then when it zoomed out, she was on she was just walking on rocks on like pieces of ice.
Yeah, this is why Superman has to save her a lot, because she puts herself in these precarious situations.
Why you telling me that how she got up there? Does she have a secret path she did for kind of like climbing course or something like that? That's
She's
a prerequisite. That's like a prerequisite to get into the Daily Planet.
I don't know. But yeah, probably she I don't know.
She's pretty hardcore for sure.
Yeah, in terms of Lois Lane, for me, when I watch the film, there is a thin line between genuine journalism and just being gypsy. Sorry to say. It is true. There is a definition between, being a journalist and just being gypsy, and she comes off as being just very gypsy.
Yeah, she just jump over that thin line.
She crosses that line. And at first, I didn't like how Lois Lane was always found herself by Clark's side. And like, she's always there. It's like, why are you always there? And it's kind of like seems forced when they always have her around Clark all the time. But having watched the movie and having time to reflect, I think her role in the film was a kind of a counter to what Jonathan Kent's fears were. Lois Lane kind of like embodied the inverse of this like admiration and sense of wonder humans would have for a heroic character that is Superman. She never fears who Clark is and what he can do, and that opens up a lot of relationships for Clark, and that's what I see in the film. What I do have a gripe about Lois Lane too is that here this woman asking a bunch of people these questions and discovers who Superman is. I mean, literally discovers like he's Clark Kent. He lives in Kansas at 128 Smallville Street, and the military can't seem to find this guy. Are you serious?
Let's not get there yet.
Let's not get there yet. Okay, but that's just one thing I want to get through.
Let's see the madness that we have in terms of this lady Lois Lane. I mean, she got in the ship and she just took pictures, and I mean.
Yeah. Well, I think we should speak about the ship. In terms of like, again, reflecting on Kryptonian technology and the aesthetics of it. What do you think of the ship versus the traditional Fortress of Solitude?
Well, we can see a lot of the ship, and also I like the way that how Superman got to the ship using his heat vision.
Yeah, heat vision is pretty cool in this film.
That was believable, and that's kind of I like that. But back to the ship. The ship, to me, they didn't really expand on the ship. They just give us certain areas.
Well, they didn't explain how the ship got there. It was there like thousands of years before Superman came.
18,000 years before Superman came to Earth.
Yeah. Apparently the Kryptonians, before they went all, super scientific and genetics, constructing their own population, they explored outer space. And I think that, again, is reflective in the post-crisis comics, where they were a spacefaring race, but then they became very insular. So the fact that Kryptonians were on Earth all those many years ago isn't a stretch, and it is very plausible. I would say about the ship, if you have watched the movie Prometheus, the ship is very, very identical to that, and I was scared that maybe an alien would jump out and eat Lois. A xenomorph from the Alien films will come out and eat Lois. They do have that awkward polymorphic biometal. That's the best scientific way I can explain it, which replaces the more iconic crystalline technology in the film and the TV series and so forth. I really think it's pretty cool.
That was very that was very interesting to see on film. It reminded me of a toy I had as a youngster. The way that it was. Oh, I don't know if there's something that you could write on, and then if you
the extra sketch,
right, and when you put the thing across it that reminded me of it, and I was brought back to childhood at that one point in time. But the ship seemed to be, and I'm sorry that they didn't really keep it there, and it had to
well, people were around, people knew it was there, so it had to go somewhere.
Yeah, well, they knew it was there because they knew it was there, but they didn't know exactly what it was. But because they couldn't tunnel that way to get to it. But
they were trying though. They were trying, definitely.
Yeah, they were trying, but.
I think we failed to mention that an iconic character, Dr. Emil Hamilton, makes a cameo around this point. The scientist that is normally Superman's go-to guy for all things scientific. He does make a cameo in this film.
Oh yes, that's very true. Maybe in upcoming Superman 2, maybe he'll be more.
No, I think he died. Yes, he died.
At what point did he die?
Remember on the ship, the final scene? I don't want to get into too much, but on the final scene, yes, he did die.
Yes.
And I was sad for that. I was very disappointed. I wanted to see him more and become probably Superman's friend and fulfill his role that he does have in the comics. But
maybe Jimmy be his friend.
Jenny Olsen. There is no Jimmy. There's Jenny.
Let's just go back to Lily Word.
Yes, back to the ship. What do you think about Marlon? Well, in the original film, they had a disembodied head of Marlon Brando as the father AI. But in this film, they have a holographic Russell Crowe.
I didn't like. It wasn't really holographic to me. It looked too much like he was actually there.
That's high def. That's Kryptonian high def for you.
No, I'd rather have the little maybe give me a little
static,
the little
distortion.
Yeah,
because the ship is old. I mean, you might have really great technology, but it does have to decay at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it was too much. He looked like he was actually there.
Yeah,
I didn't like that because I didn't like that part. I think it could have made it a lot like 2D.
Yeah.
Because just a plane.
What would be really cool is if he looked 3D, but he was actually a one-dimensional image. Like if you were to pan around, it would be like a beam of light.
That would be
something like that.
That would be interesting. And they didn't really show you where he was coming from, where that source was coming from. He just appeared.
He's kind of omnipresent, but I guess you could just chalk it up to their technology. I think he came off as very much Obi-Wan-ish in the film.
Too much to me. And at what point in time did his consciousness get transported into the key?
I think that was pre-done, a pre-flight thing that he would have prepared and ready to go on a moment's notice.
But you remember the key was formed. We saw when the key was formed.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that the database, the AI would have been in the device and it would have been downloaded into that chip. So he would have already implanted his conscience into the system, but it just needed to be downloaded into, the Kryptonian flash drive and dropped off with Clark.
The Kryptonian flash drive, I like it.
Yeah, the Kryptonian flash drive.
I like it. But there's a little. I mean, you could. How can you download someone's conscience with the person still alive? I mean, I don't know the technology. I don't know, but I mean, he was alive for a little while, and that key, the flash drive, the Kryptonian flash drive, was created before he died.
Yeah.
How then can his consciousness be in that? I mean, that the consciousness will have to be something that's been transferred. So we take your consciousness.
Well, I don't think it actually is. I don't think it is his consciousness, literally. I think what science is doing now with artificial intelligence is using highly advanced algorithms to mimic or emulate what consciousness is.
So
I think their technology is advanced enough to pretty much guesstimate what Jor-El would say, what Jor-El would think, and you just implant memories for reference. And of course, I think Jor-El hologram would know that he's dead because the planet blows up. But it does make an interesting point that it does happen before he's murdered by Zod, and the hologram mentions, "Oh, Zod killed me." So I think that's a big loophole, a big error in filming. Plot hole, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. But
this is where he gets the suit too. So the suit is explained here, or as I like to call them, Kryptonian underoos, because that's what they are.
That's it. I'm not that we said about the underoos. I like the suit. I always like that one Z thing they had going on. I really like the way they explained the glyph. I like that part.
Actually, the reference to Superman's S symbol being hope on Krypton is a direct riff from, again, Superman Birthright by Mark Waid. So, and I think that elevates the symbol and doesn't make Superman some kind of like egotistical jerk. You know, I'm Superman, so I put a big S on my chest. It's not an S, but on Earth it's an S.
Well, but what do you think of the I don't know if it's I'm going back on the Kryptonians. This is Kryptonians in general. You think they should be speaking English? Because they never really said that they were translated. I would rather like it. I would like it if it had put the
Kryptonian dialogue, but like text, subtitles.
Vice versa. Maybe speaking English, I had a Kryptonian at the bottom or the.
Well, if you watch most movies, they do that in Thor. Thor was speaking perfect English, and he doesn't speak. I can't remember his culture off. The Asgardian, he doesn't speak Asgardian. He speaks English, and I think yes, it's more realistic that they speak their own native tongue or would have a translator. Like it can be explained in Green Lantern because the ring will automatically do that once it's on you. But in terms of Superman, I think it would have dragged the movie along a little bit more if they had gone into the whole explanation. Well, they're speaking Kryptonian, and the hologram speaks Kryptonian, and Superman can understand the hologram. I would more understand the hologram if they were speaking to him directly into the audio communication aspect of his brain. So he's hearing Earth, but he's actually communicating with his brain directly. But when you have Kryptonian speaking perfect English, I think it's more for the film's benefit rather than for realism to have them speak English just to get it out and over the way with. But yeah, we were onto the suit. My feelings on the suit is that I love the colors. I love how the S is just the right size of big. It's just the perfect size for me. And the 3D feel of it, how it comes out, I really, really like that. But then it's become staple now in most superhero movies now since Spider-Man 1 came out. It had a 3D feel. My only gripe about the suit is that it doesn't have the S on the cape, and I think the cape is a little bit too long. I love that Superman's cape has the S on the back because when his back is turned, you can tell, oh yeah, that's still Superman. But if he doesn't have the cape on, it's like, is that Magneto? Is that, some other character? I can't tell from behind, but I can always tell from the front. So yeah, the cape, I think it was a little bit too long for me. Like, he would easily trip over that if he wasn't careful.
I had a point in time when he was in the desert, and he was walking, when he was captured, when he was taken in by Zod's people.
Yeah.
You could see that the cape actually dried on the ground, and when he was walking up the stairs.
Yeah, and when he's arrested by the policeman, I think it's the poster of it, and sorry, not a policeman, the military, and he's walking down the aisle. How could the guys walking behind him not accidentally step on his cape? The cape was just the right length. It didn't drag on the ground. To me, it was just behind his heels, just behind the sole of his boot. Okay.
I like how the material of the suit look. It didn't look Earth-like.
Yeah,
It
it
looked
is
more
definitely
like
a direct relic from Krypton, where they explain that this is basically what Kryptonians wear. The only difference is probably color scheme and the crest.
yeah.
And it goes back to the canon in the comic books since the New 52 in that it's from Krypton. Thankfully, it's not armor like they're doing in the comics now. It is just regular fabric, but the fact that it is Kryptonian explains its indestructibleness. And it's not... Yeah.
How he gets into that suit? That is it. How does he get into that suit?
That is the mystery that is Superman. I've yet to see him change, because once he puts on his suit, he's either in it or he's not. He's not wearing it underneath any clothing,
No.
so it's either one or the other in this film. So you don't get him changing into Superman. So you either get him as Superman or him in regular Joe outfit.
Yeah, but
so maybe they can explain it in the sequel.
We gotta find out how he gets into that suit. That's a mystery.
They do it terribly in the first film. In the first film, he just like warps into the suit, and it's like, what is that?
He doesn't spin around and he appears in the suit or something like that.
Yeah, he spins around, like he goes in the booth, or like he falls out a window and he instantly is in the suit. And I guess it works for like the whole campiness of the original film, but it doesn't fly when you really like analyze it. It doesn't make any sense. In the comics, they explain it as like it grows from the crest onto his body, so it's over his clothing rather than underneath. But again, it's something that we have to see in how they handle it in the sequel, because like again, as I said, he doesn't transform anytime in this film from his regular outfit into Superman or vice versa. He's either one or the other.
Does the texture of the look of the suit remind you of the Amazing Man suit?
Well, like I said before, I think it's the trend now to have a more the best I could describe it is more 3D looking suit that has depth and has layers to it. And I didn't mind that. I like how it made it more real, not more like a comic book, which is like one layered, like the original costume where it's like regular normal fabric, and it adds the whole alienness of his costume. I did have a gripe that there was no belt, no yellow belt, but then Cavill worked with it. Cavill worked with it.
I actually like not having a belt on the underwear outside. I actually like because to me, the suit without a belt gives you would just have to use the form, the shape of the individual that's wearing the suit. Given the belt, it gives a focal point right there where the belt is. Without the suit, it just looks like it looks more functional, because Superman doesn't need a belt.
Yeah, well, that's just my childhood fantasy of what I feel the suit should be, but realistically speaking, the suit was great. It was flawless in terms of its design and how it looked.
But to me, with the villains that he was fighting, the suit was excellent. Don't get me wrong, the suit was great, but it would look like too much. He went to cook up with a tuxedo. You know what? The suit looked too good.
Yeah, the suit looked too good.
Yeah, it looked too good to be at that point. It looked like he now came out and I got a new suit.
I wonder if Superman had like different colors to choose from, and he just chose that one, because obviously this is clothing, so people would have different colors, different color arrangements, and he just happened to have this one. I don't know. Again, we don't know that much about Kryptonian clothing or their culture, so I'm not too 100% sure if those were the colors of his ancient house, and Zod's was all black. Like the military guild, their colors were all black, and like the science guild. But I think you do see the blue reference back on Krypton when Lara is mourning the death of Jor-El, and you can see the blue underneath the suit. So maybe it is his national colors, his house colors.
Lawrence Fishburne that played Perry White in the movie.
Lawrence Fishburne, Perry White. The character is black in this movie. No big deal.
To me, it's a possibility. let's talk about the ethnicity of the character is only. You see, we believe that I guess we grew up seeing Superman as a Caucasian.
Yeah.
And to see a Superman as a black Superman, like, whoa.
We call him Icon. We call him Icon if he's black.
Yeah, yeah. but to me, it's like you can really change, because not only have you changed the race of the person, you have no pretended stereotypes that are attached to that. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stereotypes that are attached to certain people. So then you will realize that although he is a superhero, he's Superman. Although he might be black now, his mentality, the way he views certain situations, it'll be different than a Caucasian. Or if he was Asian, or if he was Arab or something like that, it'll be different.
Yeah.
Because everybody has, but then Superman shouldn't really have a ethnic class because he's an alien. It just so happened, I don't know if all Kryptonians are Caucasian. We don't know if all they are white. Because we never saw a black Kryptonian.
No, which I think is a travesty that they didn't have other races on Krypton, but then again, it could be locational. Like they could be in the Caucasian part, and another place might have a predominantly black Kryptonian population. You never know. But then again, don't forget they are genetically engineering, so they might have wiped out other, races. I don't want to say races because we're all one race, but other like skin tones and skin colors a long time ago, and we've just stuck with this Caucasian. But back to Lawrence Fishburne's portrayal as Perry White. I had no problems with him being black. I mean, because don't forget when the Superman came out, it was predominantly all male, all white characters, and so it was part and parcel of the times. And to really modernize it, I think they went well by casting a black actor as a definitively white character. I mean, it's done in comic book movies before. I mean, you've seen the late Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin and Daredevil. You've seen
excellent role he did. Excellent.
Yeah, you've also seen what's the other black role? Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury, who is in fact a white character in the comics, but because he was so popular, they introduced him in the comics as Nick Fury Jr.
I was very surprised. I hope that Lawrence had a bodysuit on. Because I cannot believe that this man that was once Morpheus let himself go so fast.
You never know.
He didn't really play a part really in the whole great scheme of things. I mean,
because again, when they first said about Superman being alone and he has very little interaction, all of these characters we're talking about besides Lois Lane, Perry White, Jenny Olsen, who is a female Jimmy Olsen, they really don't have that much of a prominent role. They're just probably like window dressing near the end of the film. But for what it was, I think Lawrence played a great Perry White. He's not a caricature that we've seen in the previous Superman movies, and he's not as bad as J. Jonah Jameson in the Spider-Man movies. He's pretty practical, very realistic. I could see him as a real boss, to Lois Lane. What do you think?
I like his approach to the whole superhero, Superman, alien article that Lewis wrote, and he was in a realistic world. This would be so far-fetched. When will you write an article? You are an established, well-known, prestigious organization, and you have credible information all the time given to the public, and to write an article on a Superman, that will question, anyone will question that. And I like his approach, and it was realistic. He didn't just like
Great Caesar's Ghost will print it.
No.
Stop the presses, Jimmy. Sorry, Jenny.
he is going to he brought a view of it, and then I guess I like how it progressed when he realized that, you know what, this is really a real story. But
Yeah, I don't think he doubted it. I think he understood that Lois was genuine and what she had was authentic, but he was afraid of the backlash, the ramifications of, publishing an article about alien, Superman showing up or like Zod coming out from out of the sky. And then there's the social, ecological, and religious aspects of, we're not alone that Perry was thinking about.
I like his sharp portrayal in the movie. His ethnic background wasn't really that a big deal to me. I just saw him as that iconic character, Perry White.
Yeah.
He's Perry White and he's black now.
Yeah. Well, it's not uncommon to have a black man with a white name.
I mean, yeah, that's what it did there. But yeah, I just had certain parts that I was like, Metropolis is being destroyed, and you wait till now to say to yourself, let's leave. Didn't you think about leaving when?
Don't forget, these are prize-winning journalists. They don't leave. These are people that go to war zones and stuff, and they've seen destruction and stuff. So the fact that they were reluctant to leave, being journalists and being at ground zero, doesn't strike me as odd. I would say that for the average Joe, but it is their profession to not run from danger. I mean, you have war correspondents in the heat, in the trenches with soldiers. So them not leaving didn't surprise me, but I think we're skipping a bit ahead. I think if we're going to go there, we should talk about the invasion aspect, which I think is like the coolest part of the film. So you want to go do that?
Yeah, no problem. The invasion, I like art. When we talk about the invasion, we have to talk about the fight scenes.
Yeah.
So the fight scenes were, in most movies, I think 300, they did this to us. They slowed down every fight scene so you could see the actual, every blow, every parry, every block, whatever. It was slowed down.
Yeah. Well, I think Zack Snyder is known for his slow-mo fetishes. He loves slow-mo. But I don't think he does it here.
No, he didn't do it here. He didn't touch it at all. I mean, like, one minute he saw somebody get hit, and bam! Next minute he was in the wall. And I like that. It was showing you the speed, like, and even I was surprised, like, whoa, I was there, now I'm here. And the fight scene, when we talk about fight scenes, we have to touch on that lady,
Fiora Hulu.
She was the scene.
Most definitely. I mean, when Mark Hamill, sorry, what I'm saying, Michael Shannon wasn't on screen, she took over, hands down.
I heard the actress was J. That's French or something.
Yes, I'm not even going to bother pronouncing it out of respect for her, because I cannot pronounce. I would not do that to her.
But
so you can look it up, listeners, who she is. But she played an awesome Fiora. Of course, she's better known as Ursa in the original film, but Fiora does pay tribute to her original appearance in the comics.
She sold every scene she was in, but in terms of fighting, that is one.
Yeah, the one-handed missile stop. You know, the Matrix super
punch. That was a effective Waham missile stop.
Yeah.
It was a missile stop, but it knocked her out. For some reason, it knocked her out.
I think it was sensory overload that knocked her out, rather than the missile itself, because I think her helmet was damaged at the time. Her going unconscious, missile itself, but again, I said sensory overload, which again we should speak on, is that I found how Zack Snyder and David Goyer, the writer David Goyer, and Zack Snyder, the director, how they handled the Kryptonian invasion was excellent. They had a lot of War of the World aspects where Clark had years to acclimate and hone his powers on Earth, whereas the villains, while still quite formidable, can't quite stand the inferior ecosystem of Earth. So they can't really handle, hearing everything, seeing everything, and all that sort of stuff. They kind of go bonkers for a bit. So that is their weakness.
Yeah, I saw a clip, and that was before I watched the movie of that scene. And I immediately turned it off because I thought that was the end scene. Because I thought, like, those pictures, for some reason, the alien always gets defeated by a common cold or stuff like that. And they was like, no, I don't want to see this. This is a waste of my time. No, I don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting. I like the idea that, but it also could bring the question: the helmet, the suit they had on.
Yeah.
It gave them it allowed the yellow sun rays to come in, but didn't expose them to the environment they were in.
Yeah, so it was a containment suit. It allowed the sun in, but like dampened their heightened senses. So that's why you see them very armored up in the film, because they can't stand having superpowers. They're not accustomed to it. And again, like how Clark freaked out when he was a small boy, they're kind of like freaking out in the same way. So that's how Superman was able to defeat Zod in round 1 and Feora in round 2. And I should say that what I find very hilarious about Superman in that I laugh at the idea that the only other survivors from Krypton are a dog, your cousin, and hardened criminals mentally damaged by isolation in a trans-dimensional prison. I think we should also mention other Kryptonians that do make a show. There is a third, the Mute Brute Kryptonian, who was non in the original film, but he's not named per se in this one. From my research, he's either Namek or Devem, and that is the brute that tag teams with Feora, and they put a beat down on Superman. I've actually never seen so much destruction in a movie since my last Michael Bay film. In fact, it's more destruction.
Let us deal with destruction after we have that destruction was awful still.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about the beatdown.
Yeah, the beatdowns are different. It's like, am I watching WWF on steroids? It's like
the main just
wail on each other. But again, speaking of other Kryptonians that made an appearance, there were the scientists on the ship when they finally capture Clark, Jaxor, the scientist guy, the bald-headed fellow, and I think they didn't have kryptonite in this film, but I like the substitute that they had in the film, in that the Kryptonian, how the villains were affected on Earth, Clark is affected on Krypton. What do you thought about that? Because once he gets on the ship, he's like being exposed to natural Kryptonian gravity and air pressure, temperature, and elements in the air, and it causes him to convulse, to get giddy-headed, and all that sort of stuff. So it has a similar effect to kryptonite, but I don't think it actually kills him, because I think it has the same effect as if he was under a red sun, and I think that's great how they handled it, how they mortalized Superman without using kryptonite.
They did an excellent job on that, but it was not. It's just a temporary thing. It won't be a long lasting effect on him. I guess I wonder if they will actually bring in kryptonite in part 2.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting. Well, I hope not, because it only depends who he's gonna have.
Well, if it's Metallo, definitely you have to have kryptonite, because I mean Metallo, kryptonite's his thing.
If it's Lex Luthor, for sure they'll have kryptonite.
I think he would more so like invent it himself, create a synthetic element that would have the same effect as kryptonite, but not be authentic kryptonite. But that's just speculation for the next film, but we will get into that a little bit later. What do you think about the final scene, like the terraforming and, when the chips are on the table and it's, the end game?
That terraforming was, it seemed that would happen within a few minutes. That would be completed. It was interesting, like the idea, and Zod had a real. I believe he was genuine in his quest.
Yeah.
He wanted the the Kryptonians to live.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing is that it's by any means necessary.
Yeah, that's the thing, because like we mentioned before, he was genetically programmed to be a warrior, a protector of Krypton. So he's only following his prime directive into preserving Krypton at all costs. And I think that's the duality of Superman and Zod, because here you have Superman representing the savior of humanity, and on the flip side you have Zod representing or embodying the savior of Krypton.
It's very true. And
so he's actually a good guy, but from like the Kryptonians' perspective, but we're getting the shaft. So that's I think a good thing about his character, in that he's not bad for bad sake. He has a purpose, and if we saw it from his end, we would be in agreement. But like I said, we're getting the shaft in this deal, so he has to be the villain.
Yeah, he has. Well, yeah, he had to be the villain, but I see it as maybe they could have found a different planet. Maybe they could even use the moon. Mm-hmm. But
I think the reason they stuck with Earth was, again, to get back at Clark, the last son, and to fulfill his promise to Jor-El, because he was wandering space. I think we didn't touch on that. When Krypton was destroyed, the technology that imprisoned the villains in the Phantom Zone kind of like glitched, so they were like free the next few minutes of the film. So they spent the rest of their lives scouring other worlds that Kryptonians had long ago visited and abandoned, and they never really settled down. They were like mostly scavengers, and I think the reason for that was because Zod was still searching for Kal-El. And when he found it, he was like, yes, we're going to plant our flag here, we're going to colonize and destroy you, Clark. Well, sorry, Kal-El.
Well, the whole
yeah. I should mention that with the terraforming equipment, I don't know if you've seen, read Superman Earth 1 by J. Michael Straczynski. But there is a scene where the villain comes from Krypton. It's kind of like a Zod archetype, and he uses this gravity cannon to trap Superman, and it's almost identical to how they execute it in the film, which I think was a nice little nod, whether intentional or not. And besides Independence Day, I don't think I've ever seen a single metropolitan American city go through so much devastation.
They said, people said that it will cost like $20 billion to rebuild Metropolis after the damage it was done. And for some reason, Superman had, I guess his main goal was to stop whatever damage, stop Zod and his forces, but
yeah.
I know for sure. They didn't really state out, they really showed it, but people died.
Well, I think a lot of people were bemoaning the fact that Superman is having this big beatdown brawl and people are dying all around him. But how I look at it is that Superman was on the other side of the Earth fighting the other end of the terraforming machine in the middle of the ocean, so no one was hurt. But all the while, people were dying in Metropolis. So I think, realistically, if you weren't dead already, by the time Superman got there, you had definitely evacuated by that time. So most of these buildings and stuff would have been empty by that time. So I didn't mind, or it didn't occur to me that people would still be around while all of this is going on.
People seem to be around, and even if they were trying to evacuate, the time, the speed in which the destruction occurred, I don't think a lot of people got away, because
that's what I'm saying. You would have either been dead already or dying before Superman even got there. So I don't think Superman contributed to any death. He was just trying to minimize further death.
You think he did? But I mean, when they hit and they collided with buildings, at that point in time when they saw the sign of Let's Corp.
Yeah, Corp. And there's a nod to Wayne Enterprises too, the scene in outer space with a satellite. But I think we're kind of like dancing around the fact, I mean, speaking about the end battle, I think we're dancing around the big, divisive, controversial thing, which is Superman killing Zod.
I didn't want to touch on it. I didn't want
You don't want to touch on that?
Because I want to touch on it, but I did trying to avoid it.
Well, we can't avoid it. I mean, it's in the movie, and people are going to be talking about it, and it is.
I would say that is a cop out because Superman could have flown out of there with Zod, and he didn't have to do that. No, I didn't want to do this, but even in the Batman
Yeah.
film, all three of them, at no point in the Batman take a lick of anyone, and he was in some um, peculiar
Well,
position.
it
No,
is with Batman. No, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you, kind of a thing. So that is again
yeah,
debatable. He wasn't proactive in people's death, but neither was he, you know, not the cause of them not dying.
yeah, but I like the fact that well, I don't know if I like it, but they showed you that a Kryptonian could live with a broken neck.
Yeah.
So they're not they still follow the same limitations that a human has. But I didn't like it that was his only way of defeating Zod.
Well, I didn't really think more about the mechanics of it. I was more about the ethical things about, am I comfortable with Superman killing? Period. He didn't have the Phantom Zone projector in the film. It was all destroyed. The fortress destroyed. All Kryptonian technology, more or less, was destroyed in the film. And Zod was hell-bent on killing these people. And sure, you could have found a better solution, like you suggested, maybe fly out of there. But Zod would come back and kill people again, kind of like how Joker would be locked up and come out of Arkham Asylum again and keep on killing.
So we're going to see that in these superhero movies. The best way is to stop, because if he in the next movie, the next villain or whatever, he decides to lock them up.
Yeah.
That would be a total contradiction to what he did in the first one.
I don't think so. If Superman found a better way in that moment to deal with the situation, he would have done it. But like I said, this
is what people could say too. He killed one of his own people, but then could spare the lives of humans.
Well, again, when it happened, that is what stuck in my mind, and I think will stick in a lot of viewers' minds on that divisive killing thing. But it happened. You can't go back on it. Superman can't go back and say, "Oops, I didn't mean to kill him. Let me spin around the Earth and try that again," like he did in the first film, in the first Superman movie. I would say that having happened, it was handled well in that he wasn't, snap neck, day is saved, all is well. He was very remorseful. He broke down. He was sad because it dawned on him, yeah, this guy killed your dad and was going to kill all of humanity and so forth. But he was, other than himself, the last Kryptonian, the last of his kind, and he, with his bare hands, murdered him. And that affected Superman, and Lois comes in and consoles him, and he's crying about what he's done. So it hits him hard that he does it, and I think if he had reacted differently, I wouldn't have liked Superman. And then again, if he didn't stop Zod and Zod did kill the family, I wouldn't have liked him either. So I guess catch 2020.
I just felt it could have ended better.
Well, actually, I read an article that Christopher Nolan was against the ending, but David Goyer managed the original ending. From what I read, was that everyone would be sucked into the Phantom Zone and the day was saved thanks to Superman. But Goyer was insistent on having this controversial ending of the Superman killing, and he was convincing enough to convince Nolan that this was the better ending to go with, and it was filmed, and it is, canon now in the Man of Steel universe. But then again, if you look in the comic books, Superman has killed before. He's killed Zod and his two henchmen before in the Pocket universe. There's an issue, I can't remember offhand, but he does kill. And I think all superheroes have killed. Batman has killed. In the comics, he murdered the guy that was Darkseid. He was a human being that was corrupted by the essence of Darkseid, but he did kill him. Wonder Woman snapped the neck of Maxwell Lord, that infamous scene, when he brainwashed Superman. So, to hold superheroes now in this, on these chains of you can't kill under any circumstances whatsoever, I think limits their abilities to do what is right for the for the best reasons. Superman isn't going to go out of his way and kill anybody. He's always going to try and find the best way out of it. But when he does, he will do it, but not like it. What are your thoughts?
I will ask this question.
Yeah.
You believe that Zod would have, you said you believe that Zod would, if he was captured, he would try to get back and kill more people and destroy. But his main goal was he just wanted a planet, you know. You don't think he just wanted. You understand that he wanted to get back at Jor-El and he wanted to get back at his son and different things, but so you just think that if he had a planet just to put his Kryptonian people on, this would have just been blown over?
I don't think Zod would have been satisfied with that, because he would have this nagging thing. But then again, it is touched on the movie that they would have needed Superman anyway, because the technology or the data to create artificial Kryptonians, that's how they reproduce. They don't reproduce normally anymore. I don't know if they know how to. Maybe Superman could have given him the Kama Sutra or something. But that stuff was embedded in Kal-El's DNA. Jor-El stole the information to create Kryptonians and embedded it in Clark's DNA, so they needed Clark to create more Kryptonians. And the fact that, I think that's another reason why they never colonized another planet, was because they didn't have the technology to create more Kryptonians, and to do it naturally would have been an abomination, blasphemy in the eyes of Zod and the other Kryptonians at that time, because they were still stuck in the mentality of their antiquated way of doing things. So I don't think Zod would ever have been satisfied with another planet and Superman being alive and well and cheerful and married and happy on another planet. He would have devoted his life to his complete and utter destruction. And at the end of the film, he does confess that he has nothing else to live for now that, the Earth terraforming machine is destroyed. All of his minions are trapped in the Phantom Zone, so it's just him as Superman. So he gives himself a new purpose, which is the destruction of Superman, all that he cares about, all that he loves. So there is no satisfying him.
Yeah. But so know that I believe we have touched on everything.
Yeah, we've touched on everything. So I guess we should go into what overall the film, did it suffice? Did it, was it the Superman movie or the superhero movie we all expected it to be? Our thoughts?
Well, on my end, it put superhero movies on a different level. In terms of Avengers were mostly the characters, a little CGI.
Yeah.
Superman was a lot of CGI.
Obviously.
And it was well done.
Mm-hmm.
The level of destruction was nothing you've seen in superhero comics. The acting was great. It really embodied what a young Superman would be.
Mm-hmm.
We had the drama, the love interest, we had suspense, we had the whole works where you'll love to find in the typical movie.
Yeah.
The storytelling was absolutely done, and all, it was a great movie. It was a little plot holes that could have been sorted out. There's little things.
Well, no movie's perfect.
No movie's perfect, but it's something it could have done. But it was a good movie. Well, maybe great was a strong word, but it's a good movie. We could give a rating.
Well, I don't want to give it a rating. Just the essence of what we're saying. I think people could get the gist of how we would rate it. Me personally, I asked myself, was this the best superhero movie ever? And that is debatable, because it all depends on what you're looking for in the superhero movie. As I began this podcast with the quote from All-Star Superman, once you have, doomed planet, desperate scientists, last hope, kindly couple, you pretty much have Superman, and they did it well. They did it exceptionally well, better than any other Superman movie before it. So it is the best Superman movie ever, and no actor, while good and others great, no one was bad in this film. Everyone did an excellent job with what they were given and the roles they were given. So I was pretty pleased with everything that came out of it. Again, it is an origin story, so all of the things that we might have gripes about would get expanded upon in future films, in future movies. So I'm holding off on criticizing like the lack of the Planet staff and Lois and Clark stuff and so forth. Oh, by the way, Clark does become the reporter for the Daily Planet with the spectacles and stuff. And since Lois Lane knows Superman is Clark Kent, then that elephant is thrown out of the room. So we don't have to worry about that. That's ridiculous. I think a lot of people agree with that. But I left the theater feeling satisfied, eagerly anticipating the sequel. So I think that was a good sign for me. Even though I wasn't like wowed over the top, the fact that I was excited to see Man of Steel 2, it speaks well of the movie.
The movie has been waiting longer for more, just to see what they will do in the next film. But I just hope they don't rush it just to get.
I think it's in good hands. Yeah, Nolan and his crew aren't the types to rush anything, and they really think things through, and I trust them wholeheartedly. But moving forward in a sequel, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing. I think we need to have a good mix of action and good acting. We need to have if a Lex Luthor is being introduced, let him be as diabolical as he can be.
What kind of Lex Luthor do you want? Do you want the scientist Lex Luthor, the business tycoon Lex Luthor? What Lex Luthor are you looking forward to? Because there are different interpretations of the character.
I'm looking for the business type that has the I want him to have his own. I don't want him to be the person that relays on the scientist. I want him to be the business type that's still the scientist, that's still smart business type, and the science, the tech, and a good mix of that, so that he will know that he doesn't have to rely on.
And please, if you're bringing back Lex Luthor, do not try to create your own island or steal land, because that is played through and through in the movies. So none of that.
Please don't make an island person, please. Please don't make
what?
And go ahead.
What I'm looking forward to, I would say, I would like to see the Daily Planet staff more fleshed out. I would like to see Clark as a reporter for the Daily Planet. I don't want him to just like gloss over like, oh, he's a reporter and have him do Superman stuff. I want him to really like delve into how to spend time with him roaming. I think they should spend the same time with him doing his job and do it effectively. I would also like to see Superman take a more international role in that he's doing stuff outside of America for a significant amount of time and not just like news articles on TV or in the newspaper, like him actually going to like other places.
Yeah, that would be.
Okay, yeah.
Hello. Yeah, that would be interesting seeing him actually doing reporting work, actually being an actual journalist, actually looking at the news. But then for sure, Lois will try to grab the spotlight. Lois will still put herself in some strange position so he could save her. I want them to do some more than super speed though. They didn't really do
well, they did a lot of superpowers. I mean, Superman has a lot of powers, and they go through the gamut. They have super speed, flight, strength, heat vision, X-ray vision, even telescopic vision.
But they didn't touch the.
They didn't touch super breath or Arctic breath. But then again, you could always say that for the sequel. Leave something for the sequel.
But I for sure in the sequel they have to give him a villain or a gallery of villains.
Yeah, who do you think would be a great villain to have in the sequel?
Metallo will be good. Maybe. Yeah.
After what Zod did, you think Metallo could live up to that like threat? But
remember. Well, I just kind of point of view that this will be a way to introduce kryptonite. Maybe for sure, Lex Luthor could be introduced. maybe
Definitely, I
Brainiac.
would like to see Brainiac in the film, in the part 2. I think that's the only way you could go.
Yeah, but
Either...
then it'll get bigger. It'll get bigger. You can't just put Lex Luthor can't hold a film by
No,
himself anymore.
I'm tired of Lex
Maybe he'll
Luthor
step back
as a
again.
villain, but if they introduced him as maybe a supporting villain and not the main villain, I think it will come off well.
Or maybe have him as a business type person, and then eventually he just working behind the scenes, how he did in like Young Justice and
a manipulative figure.
Yeah, he just tries to, and then eventually maybe in the fourth one, or maybe in the Justice League, he makes his grand appearance, his grand the poster and everything.
Kind of like the anti-Nick Fury, where he's like always in the film, but building to something greater in like the team movie.
Anyways, that's good enough.
I think if they're going to introduce a villain, like I said, Brainiac, I think comes to mind as the only one that could top what Zod did in terms of threat level and escalation, because that is a big thing about Nolan. He always goes with escalation. Other than that, obviously, would be Doomsday, but I think you should save Doomsday for maybe like the third film as like the ender, because I think that's what Nolan did with Batman, killed Batman, quote unquote, killed Batman, and I think Doomsday would be a great way to quote unquote kill Superman and like end the trilogy.
Yeah, and then
they would have Bizarro, maybe. So they could create a Bizarro, you never know, or maybe even an Eradicator.
Yeah,
but I would not like to.
Because there's his DNA is out there, but I guess it may be in the files as well, or it may have dropped.
You never know. Lex was a very resourceful fella. You never know what happened to the corpse though of Zod. So maybe it was confiscated by the military, and they were like, we have this Kryptonian corpse, Lex. What can you do with it? And boom. But I think they should save Darkseid for the Justice League movie. I don't think they should bring him in anytime soon in Superman. Man of Steel.
Yeah, Darkseid would be that'd be another alien invasion again. How much alien invasion work?
It is a job for Superman. I mean, anything else would be, leave it to Aquaman.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, but I guess more destruction.
Okay.
Maybe that could work.
Please, these are these things. Since we mentioned the things we want to see looking forward, I would like to interject the things I do not want to see in the next film. I do not want to see Supergirl. So what do you don't want to see in Man of Steel 2?
Krypton for sure would be one. For sure. Hey, what do you know? Like Supergirl. Supergirl was Supergirl.
Well, the thing is that if you have Supergirl, then it overly complicates things like female Transformers. Because here you have Clark, the last of his kind, the last Kryptonian, and then boom, you have Supergirl, your cousin from another planet, which we have to explain survived the destruction of Krypton, and all that sort of jazz, and why you weren't in the first film, and it overly complicates things to have her. I'm not against Supergirl, but like I'm saying, it just overly complicates things if you were to introduce her.
Yeah, I understand you, because I don't think we need any more Kryptonians in the movie at all, and especially with that his race that was in the ship. They were.
Well, it is implied that they all died, but they do have this Easter egg where one capsule is open and unoccupied. I don't know, our ancestors. I just don't want Supergirl. Or if it was Supergirl, please don't make her related to Clark as a cousin.
Well, we had a lengthy discussion.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we went so long. Look out for more PodCATS from myself and Fabian, and I do hope that you enjoyed
visit the website.
This first episode. Look out for visit the website comicsappreciationteam.com to check us on Facebook. At Comics to the World on.
We're just two guys speculating on what we hope and hope not the sequel would be, and it's all in the hands of Hollywood and Nolan and Goyer and Snyder. This brings us to the end of our first PodCATS. Sign us off, Mr. Seth.
Facebook.com/Comics of the World. That's we also known as C.A.T, Comics Creation Team. And just look out for more podcasts in the near future. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I think you covered everything. I just want to say thanks for listening, all the viewers, all the listeners, and hope to hear your comments on our first C.A.T s and in the future. So signing off.